What's up, Degenerate Nation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by BetMGM. This is the early week college basketball betting preview. I'm Stucky, and joining me, as always, is BJ Cunningham. Although BJ wasn't here with us last weekend, Mike Calabrese is not with us today. He was sick. We pushed the episode back a day. Get well, feel better, Mike. Hopefully be ready to rock for the Thursday episode. He has that flu that's a lot of flus and respiratory sicknesses and viruses going around the past month or two. So we hope that he gets better in the future. Without, there could be an exception, but we'll usually be here on Mondays, 3-man weave, midweek, and then we'll be back for the weekend preview. So sorry for any confusion there. BJ, what's going on, brother?
Not much. It was very nice, less than 12 hours ago to watch Iowa State just completely melt down in Lubbock. It was a beautiful thing to see. And now we have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday slate here of college basketball.
Yeah, not a bad week for Iowa fans like yourself. Mm-hmm. It was nice to see Patrick McCaffrey come back and the support that he got. He was out for like 6 games dealing with some anxiety issues. And the Iowa offense, I mean, we can get right into some of our takeaways. This will be a really quick episode, which is the two of us will get takeaways, a little rant, talk a little ACC, who we're buying and selling, and then we'll just get into our favorite bet for tonight. But I'll tell you that the fact that Iowa put up is definitely eye-opening. What did they put up? Did it end up scoring 93, I think?
Yep, 93 and 1.21 points per possession against the second-ranked team per Ken Pom in adjusted defensive efficiency.
Yeah, very impressive effort from Iowa. Anytime you could do that to Rutgers, it's certainly impressive. But yeah, I'll start with my takeaway of the week. 2 takeaways of the week. I think one, Purdue's still on my potential fade list. I didn't fade them against Michigan State. I've been fading them. I just took Michigan State +5 at home, and this is like a week and a half later, and it was +7. I didn't see enough value, but I have to give. Zach Edey was dominant, and if I think that the price for him to win the Wooden Award, like to win National Player of the Year, should be the price for him not to get injured, pretty much. Like, as long as he stays healthy the rest of the way, I think that he has that locked up. And I am you can't have Michigan's post defense is not very strong. And if you don't have a strong post defense, you're going to get eaten up by him. You have to do something a little bit different. So we'll see. Jenkins potentially emerging as another outside option certainly makes Purdue maybe a little bit more scary. I don't think that they're a top 5 team ultimately, and I don't think they're going to make a deep run. If they run into a team that can slow down, or he gets into foul trouble, which he does a really good job of avoiding. But he's so big that you could get 2 fouls just from maybe a bad call, his size, 2 minutes into the game. And then Purdue doesn't really know how to operate without him much. So it's a really intriguing team. But when they play the 16 seed in the first round, oh boy. Now granted, he might not go for 50 because it'll be such a blowout, but talk about maybe a first half player. I might lay it with Purdue once we get there, but we've got a long way to go. We're still in January, although February is coming up tomorrow and the madness is in the air. But my other big takeaway from the week is you mentioned it, the Iowa State collapse. And this is a team that just what happened at the end of that game? A couple of things. Texas Tech started pressing, and Iowa State is one of the worst teams in the country against the press. They have major turnover issues. They're now, I think, in the 10th percentile per synergy in their press offense, and they've faced the press at one of the highest rates in the country, and which isn't a ton. It's like 11, 12%, but it's something to keep in mind because there's 2 things that were going on there. Iowa State, first of all, they can't shoot free throws, and that reared its ugly head last night. And then you can press them and they'll turn it over. They also foul a lot. That's the anatomy of a comeback right there. The other team's scoring with the clock stopped, you're missing free throws, and then you're turning it over. So just file that away for the tournament. And if they come across a team, Iowa State's going to be a pretty high seed. Give me a VCU, a team that can press them. That they do not have the best ball handlers in the country, and that ultimately could be their demise. But yeah, what a comeback for Texas Tech. And then I guess I'll throw one more in just to build on this is Big 12, super impressive. Was right about that on Saturday against the SEC. I thought like the top of the SEC was probably a little overrated because the bottom I think is really bad. No one could shoot in that entire conference. And then the bottom of the Big 12 I thought was underrated because the top is so strong. And yeah, TCU lost, but they lost Mike Miles, who, by the way, not out for the year. Thank God. We'll see when he's coming back. But just a hyperextended knee that would have ended TCU's season, or as far as like their chance at a national title. But you saw Kansas go into Kentucky and win. You saw Oklahoma just dismantle Alabama. And you saw Texas Tech in the battle of the two teams that are really struggling go into Baton Rouge and win. Even without a couple starters. So yeah, I think that again, my just perception of the Big 12 strengthened a little more, and I still think that the SEC, the top of the SEC, is a bit weak because of the struggles for the shooting, and then just at the bottom of that conference. But I'll shut up now and ask you if you have any thoughts there, and then anything that you took away from the week that was.
Well, yeah, even, Baylor had a very poor shooting performance against Arkansas, and they gutted out that win as well. So yeah, it goes to show how deep the Big 12 is right now. My biggest takeaway is I think that the trust tree has been chainsawed down. I don't know if there's really a team in college basketball. I don't think we have anybody. I mean, I pulled up KenPom this morning, and Tennessee is the number one team in the country. Like, do we truly believe Tennessee is number one? Like, they're an incredible defensive team, but again, they go through these shooting slumps, and they're not really great of a shooting team. So now who do you trust going forward? So I'm guessing our futures profile, when we get to it on Thursday, is going to be just littered with a ton of long shots because I mean, there's no way I'm going to sit here and say, yeah, I'll play Houston at 6-1 or Tennessee at 10-1. There's just not a lot of value there. And now Alabama just ruined everything, any trust that we had with them from getting blown out. Now we'll see, teams just have bad games. So maybe Alabama is just, one bad game. They had bad performance against Mississippi State to barely beat them by 3, but we'll see going forward. Yeah, my biggest takeaway is just that we have a ton of chaos going forward. It's feel like we say that every single week, but as we get deeper into February, and February will really tell us, it'll help us try to separate who is better. Even if Purdue runs the table here, there might be a time where we have to say oh no, maybe we're not going to fade them anymore. But again, there's not going to be much value against them. And Matt Painter in the tournament has shown time and time again that he just can't take them deep. So it's going to be a very, very interesting February to sort everything out. And yeah, like you said, the Big 12 is just incredibly deep, and those are going to be the type of teams that I want to buy, especially come time for March Madness.
Yeah, I think by the time tomorrow's February, and usually by the time February 1st rolls around, we have one or two teams that are all right, Final Four shooing and there might be one or two teams that are different for different people, but there's a group of 3 or 4 that now it's I don't really know. I would have considered TCU for sure one of the teams that I trust. They were getting right there, and then Miles goes down. So you're not going to be able to trust them on a nightly basis. We'll see when he comes back. I'm assuming that it's 3 to 4 weeks usually. So he'll be back in time for March. You got to get him back into the flow. Yeah, but
I guess I'll throw out one team here, and I'm probably going to end up bringing this up on the futures segment on Thursday. But are we overlooking Virginia right now? Because they're just rolling right through the very, very weak ACC. And I understand the ACC is very, very down, but I mean, we're running on 6 or 7 straight wins right now for them. If you look at their upcoming schedule, they get NC State and Duke both at home. Their only road trips away are to Boston College, Virginia Tech, and Louisville. And then obviously they have a trip to North Carolina at the very end of the season. But they're sitting at 25-1 right now to win the title. And
hold the thought for Thursday.
Okay.
But, and the ACC. Well, we're talking about the ACC in a sec. I'm gonna go. Let's have it. Do I have a rant here? It's hard for me to rant knowing that I had Texas Tech last night, so I'm not. It was my only bet, and they came back from 22 down with 12 to go. But let me see if I could come up with something. I'm gonna go Wake Forest. Like that was a game you have to
Yeah.
have at home against NC State. I had a good number on that game, and I, they don't play any defense like that. And sometimes defense comes down to coaching, there's scheme, there's sometimes just player talent, and then do you have rim protection and all these other things. But also defense comes down to effort at times. And that was an effort game, a game you had to have, and you give up 50 to NC State in the second half. Like I know the ACC is down. That was a game Wake needed to have. They lost 2 straight. You come home for NC State, and your defense I mean, look, in that game for NC State, DJ Burns went 14 of 26, had 31 points. I mean, it looked like Shaq. This is a guy who, let's see, he had his season high before then was 18. Like, and he made him look like the greatest player in the country. So really, really, really disappointing effort by Wake Forest. And if I look at, because we're eventually going to talk about the ACC. If I look right now, bracket matrix, you got Virginia, Miami, Duke, North Carolina, NC State's an 8 seed, Clemson a 9, and then Pitt's an 11. Tech, I think, is eventually going to play their way in. Wake Forest on the outside looking in, and they might go back to that game specifically as the reason that they are NIT bound. So really disappointing effort by Wake Forest. You got anything you want to rant about here?
Yeah, how about Florida State? Just the complete meltdown in the final. Unbelievable meltdown in the final 10 seconds against Clemson, who just continues to rattle off these improbable wins. They're up 3 with under 10 seconds left to go. They foul. Clemson makes both. Foul, go down. They make 1 of 2. Clemson drives the rim. They foul them. It's an and 1. Clemson goes on to win by 1. Just a complete meltdown. And although I will say Florida State did rebound from, Clemson went out on a 16-2 run to start the game, and Florida State really weathered that storm and played very well going forward. But, I'll get to Clemson and our buys and sells in a second, but they're a very, very annoying team to bet against right now.
Yeah, that was something. I had them, and the funny thing is I had them in a round robin and money line. And I think some people had 1.5, 2 and covered, which I did not. So yeah, that meltdown was frustrating to say the least. But let's a nice transition, ACC themed show. Let's move into our ACC buy sell segment from a betting perspective. So I'll start. The team I'm buying, I think it's going to be pretty obvious, and it might not. I'm probably going to bet them tonight. I think that lines up to 4 against Miami, and that's Virginia Tech. I'll be looking like this is a veteran team that is completely different with Hunter Couture on the court. He's red hot from 3 now, but he's a great shooter, gives them way more spacing, and he's also one of the most underrated defenders in the league, always in the right space. And they're just a much better team, veteran team, extremely veteran team, well coached. And they did this last year. They've been here before, and it's even a weaker ACC now. I think they catch fire. Now there's like some horrible teams. And by the way, Louisville, Jesus, that's another one. I bet Louisville on Saturday, and the final score looked respectable, but there was a time they were down like 34. Oh my gosh.
What has happened? That is just
have some pride. It's an embarrassing product to watch. But yeah, so I'm buying Tech, and then I'm probably, as far as my sell, I'll let you. I know who you're going to pick for what you hinted at, so I'll let you take them. Mine's probably going to be Virginia. I agree that they're probably the best, as of right now, the best national title threat. Although, maybe, Duke has talent. UNC, like, have they been coasting? Can they? This is a team that did make the run last year. They could put it together too. We'll talk about that in the future segment Thursday. But from just a pure betting perspective, this is probably the top of the market for Virginia. They've gone through such an easy stretch of teams, and that's everyone in the ACC that's going to happen with. And they also got to play UNC without Nance, and then Baycott played 1 minute and got hurt. And they're shooting a little bit over their head. They're in the 99th percentile in guarded catch and shoot jumpers, scoring like 1.2 points per possession on guarded jumpers, and they don't offensive rebound. So, and look, they're running great stuff this year, but like if you look at, there's like K.A. Clark shooting like 40%. Everyone's shooting 40% from three. And I just think that there's going to be a little bit of shooting regression. They're shooting a bit over the head. The defense isn't as dominant as it has been. You know, the offense is made up for that, and they're capable of scoring now, and they run good stuff. But I would assume that this is probably the top of their market value. So I'll be looking to see, hint, Saturday, where's that, at Vatek? There's my team I'm buying and the team I'm selling. So put the two together, and pretty sure I'll play on the Hokies on Saturday in an enormous game for them. That's like win that game, you're on the right side of the bubble. So yeah, I'll go. We'll stay in the Commonwealth. I'll go. Looking to buy Vatek. Obviously, it's number dependent, and sell Virginia. How about you?
I'm looking to buy Miami. They completely melted down against Pittsburgh on Saturday. I mean, they led 68-60 with 2:26 left, and then Pitt closed on 11-0 run, won the game. Miami's currently 7-4 in the ACC, but 4 of those losses have come
Which is wild. It doesn't feel like that because like they were rolling and they're good, and the ACC's down, and then you're like they're 7-4.
Yep, they've lost all 4 games by a combined 13 points, and all 4 of those losses have come on the road. And what's kind of been kind of weird just from a scheduling perspective is 7 of their 11 games in the ACC have come on the road so far. So they're going to finish 6 of their last 9 at home where they haven't lost this season. I mean, this is a very, very good offense. I mean, they're 12th in adjusted offense efficiency. They have 2 really good guards in Pack and Wong. They don't have a lot of size, so they're not a very good defensive rebounding team. So that has kind of plagued them. But they're a team that can get out and play well in transition. They space the floor incredibly well, and if they shoot the ball well, they're a team that can really buy going forward. And they are going to be in a wonderful spot where I'm going to be taking them. Not necessarily tonight against Virginia Tech, because I do agree with you that Virginia Tech is definitely a buy-on team. But they're going to Clemson on Saturday. And that is the team I am selling without a doubt. I mean, Clemson is 10-1 in the ACC. They're 18-4 for the season, but they're 60th in KenPom. And I think that just tells you everything you need to know about them. I mean, they're a very good defensive team. Like they're number 1 in the ACC right now in defensive efficiency during conference play. They're 10th offensively. And this season, they've beaten 1 team inside the KenPom top 40. It was Duke at home, and Duke did not have Jeremy Roach. So this is a very, very fraudulent 18-4. And I understand like Hunter Tyson is shooting like ridiculously hot from behind the arc. And the reason they keep winning all of these close games is because they're shooting close to 85% from the free throw line. That's the reason they basically beat Florida State, is because they made all the free throws down the stretch, and Florida State didn't. Now they're not going to be without Brevin Galloway for, it looks like, a few games. If you want to know why he's not going to play, you can go search that on Twitter. Very funny video. Yeah, without a doubt, Clemson's going to be a team I'm definitely fading going forward. Playing Miami on Saturday is a perfect spot for Miami. I'm guessing the line will probably, like, KenPom has Clemson winning by 1, so it's not like we're going to get a great number on Miami, but I definitely do think they'll win outright Saturday at Clemson.
Yeah, I don't think that Gallo will be having a ball this week, but yeah, that's all right. Well, that's very, very nice and neat. Where each of our buy and sell teams face each other on Saturday. So hopefully we can get a very appetizing number on each. But I agree with you too. I'll be looking to back Miami on Saturday also. And yeah, the ACC, I think the most interesting thing to watch with the ACC, and we'll obviously preview every single conference tournament once we get to March. I just want to see, like, so Duke has a ton of talent, young, Roach's been out. Like, are they going to start ascending, or is this like who Duke is? And then will UNC turn it on? Like, are we going to see a dominant stretch at any point ahead of the ACC tournament? I think Virginia has demonstrated that they're a clear top 20 team. And I think if you're a clear top 15 to 20 team this year, you got a shot. And that's pretty much it. Like, you just want to be in that mix. And Duke and UNC have the talent to get there. So we'll see if they can put it together, and we see signs of life before the ACC tournament. So good stuff there. Let's move on to tonight's card. And for what it's worth, speaking of buying and sell, I'm going to have a February buy sell report, 5 buy teams, 5 sell teams. that I'm looking to either bet on or fade for the month of February. So check that out on actionnetwork.com and the Action Network app. But for tonight, I'm going to go with a team. Let's go back to the Big 12. And there's one reason why I don't necessarily like this, but I'm referring to West Virginia plus the points. It's like, the first game without your star player, sometimes you can see a bump on everybody else. But I just think that it's going to take some time for TCU to adjust to life without Miles, who was so important on the bucket getter at the end of games, the head of that nasty elite transition offense that just can't be stopped in the open floor. Critical on defense, and I think there's going to be an adjustment period here, playing a West Virginia team that I think is headed in the right direction. They should dominate the offensive glass here. They already beat TCU once this year. So it's not the best spot. Like, TCU has revenge. That's the first game without Miles, but I just think it's going to be tough for the Horned Frogs for a couple games. Got to adjust the rotations. And Miles is just so important end of game situations. And then just specifically when TCU is the most deadly in the open court, and he's the speed. He's the guy who makes it all work. He's the engine of the car. So I think taking West Virginia with the points here, first bet I made for tonight. So I'll go with the ears. What do you got for tonight?
I'm going to go Indiana plus 2.5 on the road at Maryland. I mean, the Hoosiers are incredibly hot right now. They've won 4 straight. This is a fantastic matchup for them. They've been playing so much better since they got Trace Jackson Davis back. They've been attacking the rim at a very, very elite level. Like, so far this season, there's 65% on shot attempts in the rim. That's top 35 mark in the country, while Maryland is 13th in the Big Ten during conference play and field goal percentage allowed at the rim. Indiana also a very high frequency transition team, which will work against Maryland, who's very, very bad at defending in transition right now. And then Indiana is also putting up about 1 point per possession in the half court, where Maryland's 10th defensively. And Maryland just hasn't shot the ball well during Big Ten play. Like, they're 13th in effective field goal percentage. They're shooting under 32% from behind the arc. They're one of the highest frequency teams in the country at running pick and roll, which is basically their best path to success here, because Indiana is not that they're pretty average at defending the pick and roll, but Maryland isn't finishing at the rim at a high level. And like I already mentioned, they're struggling to shoot the ball from behind the arc. So now you're going to fall into a lot of mid-range jumpers. So I think this is a good spot here for Indiana. And if you just, Maryland had a great non-conference. If you just filter out what's happened during Big Ten play, I mean, Indiana's a plus 6.6 adjusted efficiency differential, and Maryland's minus 2.5. So I really don't think Indiana should be an underdog here. So I like the value on them at plus 2.5.
Yeah, Indiana's an intriguing team there, and we might be to talk about them on Thursday on the future segment. I wouldn't be surprised if someone brought them up. Hood Schifino playing really well here, and they look great recently. And if he keeps playing like that, they're going to just keep ascending into March. The question is, that's a two-part question with Indiana. When does Xavier Johnson come back? And then when he does, what does the rotations look like? Does that throw everything off? So that's something to keep in mind. But they're playing excellent basketball as of now. For what it's worth, Mike sent over his picks that he would have had if he could speak. And he likes Dayton hosting Loyola. Good luck to you, Mike, if you can figure out Dayton, because I certainly can't. So if you're interested in that game, he's back in Dayton as a favorite here. And then Indiana money line over Maryland, so he agrees with you there. All right, that'll do it for us. Nice quick Tuesday half-hour episode for tonight's college basketball slate. We will be back on Thursday night. We will preview Friday night, and then most importantly, Saturday's entire college basketball slate. Hopefully, we will have Mike back. Make sure you check out the guys from the 3-Man Weave in the midweek episode. But good luck on all of your wagers out there. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy, leave a review. If we have any giveaways, do those giveaways now for our producer. Appreciate the audio and video teams on the back end. BJ, thanks for joining me as always. Feel better, Mike. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will catch y'all later in the week. Cheers.